Facebook will literally pay you for referring people to buy a headset. An Apple patent creates more speculation about their upcoming VR headset. Netflix might be joining the VR space soon, and we have several game updates and a brand new game releasing later this month that you won't want to miss. First up in Oculus news, they are now planning on enabling DLC and in-app purchases for App Lab developers later this year. Essentially, they're making it so that the only difference between App Lab and actually being in the Oculus store is exposure to customers, which really doesn't sit well with me. It's one thing to have a curated store of content that you think is high quality and worth selling, something Steam could really consider using because of how many crappy VR games they are on Steam. But if Oculus is taking a financial cut from the sales made through App Lab and their normal store, they're just maximizing their profit while still being able to make sure that people only purchase games that they like and approve. So while I may sound like I'm wearing a bit of a tinfoil hat, I just don't trust a company like Facebook to curate content for me. That said, Oculus themselves have shown that they want to see developers succeed and that they want developers to make money, so I'm not too worried about it, but still it is a bit of a concern. I just wish App Lab games were visible in the Oculus store. Just, put a tag on them saying that they're App Lab games, that they're in development. I don't see why Oculus is against letting these games have exposure and essentially hiding them from everyone, especially considering that some indie devs need that early revenue from game sales to actually finish building the game. I don't know, it's a complicated situation where Oculus is being more cautious to their benefit more than to the benefit of developers and users who want access to more content. In other Facebook news, Facebook, or more accurately Oculus, will literally pay you for referring people to buy a headset. Essentially, if you can convince your friend, sibling, parent, grandparent, or whoever it is, some random homeless guy on the street, to buy a headset, then you will receive $30 of in-store credit, and the buyer will also receive $30 of in-store credit. So while you're not actually getting paid cold hard cash for selling headsets for the company, you will get some money to spend on new games, which is always nice. It's also great for the newcomer to VR, as they won't be stuck playing just free games. They'll have $30 they'll be able to use to purchase any game they want. As of right now, you're limited to only 2 uses per month, and it's only valid until October of this year, 2021, but they could extend it. I honestly think this is an awesome program because I'm always showing people my headset anyway, so this is just a great incentive to both me and my friends to actually buy a headset, since we'll both get a credit. I mean, honestly, if they didn't have the limit, I'd probably be out there going door to door selling this thing to people. Somebody needs to pay for all these new games I buy, and since hardly any developers actually want to send me their games to review, so I gotta buy them all myself. But seriously, the headset sells itself, and if you could just get people to try it, I mean, I have yet to meet someone who hasn't tried it and wasn't blown away by the experience wanting to buy one immediately afterwards. Moving on, Apple has filed a patent which people have described as explaining a more advanced way of collision prevention than the standard VR guardians we have with like Steam or Oculus. Specifically, the patent describes blending the real and virtual world together in a seamless way where one transforms into the other. For example, right now you can switch your Quest to pass-through view to see objects around you, but it's like a hard cut that takes a split second to load. Apple will instead dissolve into the virtual world from the real world, or into the real world from the virtual world. Specifically, in preventing you from crashing into objects, it will dissolve just parts of the virtual world into the real world to warn you that you're getting close to specific objects. Imagine Oculus's boundary, but instead of showing a grid when you get close to the edge, it just shows the actual world. Honestly, I don't find it that revolutionary. Oculus kind of has something similar when the headset leaves the boundary, but people can't get enough milk from Apple's titties, so uninformed news outlets will continue to call this amazing and revolutionary, even if it's not even revolutionary or even that practical. Also VR, which by the way also comes from the Latin root for bones. I mean, in Portuguese at least, ossos is the Portuguese word for bones. But anyways, the company Also VR just received $27 million in funding to create a surgical training program for VR. Also already has a surgical training program with 100 modules across 10 different specialties, but this funding will give them the opportunity to refine it and make surgical trainings much better. It will literally allow up-and-coming doctors to perform surgeries countless times, literally anywhere that they have space to do VR. I don't just imagine this being good for new doctors, but existing doctors who want to become proficient at new types of surgery. This could potentially improve surgical care around the world drastically, as you won't actually have to practice on a real body, at least not as much as you would normally. This is just more evidence that VR is growing and has the potential to radically change the world as we know it. VR isn't just for gaming. That said, Netflix might, and this is a really big might, but they might be getting into the VR gaming space. They have a new deal with Shonda Rhimes, a TV producer, to create new content, and part of the deal is the opportunity to pursue potential games and VR specifically. Now honestly, I have no idea what it would look like if Netflix got into VR. They do have an app for watching Netflix in VR, but it's always been the worst of all the streaming apps available for how low of a resolution they give you. But it would be interesting to see them improve that app while simultaneously offering new content that you can choose from inside of that app that is specifically made for VR. I mean, imagine VR movies available on Netflix. That is something that could really start to push this unique art form into the mainstream. VR is also joining the NFT market, or already has. NFT Oasis creator Providence has raised $4.4 million to enable VR creators to reach the mass market via art galleries in VR. Imagine an art gallery in VR that showcases art, music, and different art every week, all held in a beautiful virtual environment and streamed to the entire world. Instead of having to go to your local downtown to feel like a pretentious prick, you can just put on your VR goggles to go to a VR art gallery and pretend you can actually afford any of it. So just last week, Sniper Elite VR released, and I was actually expecting this to be one of the biggest games for VR this year. I think a lot of people were, and I must say it was actually pretty good. It's not a knockout must-buy game for all users, but if you like sniping and shooting guns, you'll probably enjoy it. My more detailed review will be coming out later this week, so subscribe if you want to see that. My game reviews tend to be pretty controversial, so if you like writing angry comments, definitely get ready for that video later this week. Death Horizon, a pretty low-budget VR shooter on Quest and other platforms, just released 8 new single-player game modes. They will consist of a variety of challenges with a scoreboard and everything like that. Part of the update also includes the ability to travel as a party to the app using the Oculus Party feature, which is a very cool idea that just needs better implementation in multiplayer games, I think. So anyways, if you have Death Horizon, definitely go back and check it out because they've got lots of new content. Moss, which is a very good VR game that I know comes recommended by nearly everyone that has ever played it, they're finally getting a sequel called Moss Book 2. So far, the game is only confirmed to be coming to PlayStation, but I think they'd be crazy to ignore all the Quest users that have fallen in love with the game. Like, literally, if they don't release it on Quest, I'm just gonna have to believe that they love burning money just like the developers of Medal of Honor. An update coming to SteamVR will make it so that Quest users playing via Link won't have to restart SteamVR if they disconnect accidentally. They now should be able to just plug back in and keep going where they left off, which is nice since unplugging the thing is easier than your mom. But seriously, I haven't had this issue since I play mainly via virtual desktop, but considering 60% of SteamVR users are using Oculus headset, this update will surely make life easier for a lot of people. Yuki is a brand new game coming to Oculus Quest and PC VR on July 22nd. You can now pre-order it on the Quest platform where you'll get a 10% discount and 48 hours early access to the game, which is pretty cool. The game itself is a roguelike shooter where you control an action figure through beautiful levels. It comes from a pretty established developer, Arvory, which developed Pixel Ripped. Doesn't look like something I personally would enjoy, but if you particularly like roguelike games or have kids that would like a fairly simple, fun-looking game, this is a great option. But that's it for this week's episode. If you enjoy watching me try to be funny as I go through all of VR's news, maybe consider subscribing, or just not, that's okay too. Honestly, if you're watching the video this long, you've done more for my channel than simply hitting the subscribe button, but subscribe anyways if you want or don't. I also want to thank my YouTube members, Trash Pandas. You all make this possible. But that's it, I'm out.